What is up, y'all? It is finally time. I'm about 2 hours late by Central Time standards because I finished this at 1:59 in the morning on what's technically now Tuesday. National championship was Monday. Kentucky lost, which is not what I wanted. I was rooting for Kentucky, but I'm finished with my draft class. Yes, so it is now available. And if you have to search franchise play 99 and the name of the draft class, I'm going to name it right here in front of everybody. So this is the first time I'm naming it. So I'm naming it. Let's see. We're going to see what all can fit because we don't know. Let's see. I'm going to say franchise play. Boom. Let's see. Franchise play. I'm gonna see if I can get like official 2014 draft class from YouTube or something like that. But they're not gonna let me do all that. Let me see what we can work out here. So I'm doing this all real time. So sorry I didn't work this out, but I was eager to get this out to everybody. YouTube, see, they letting me go a little bit. There we go. So let's see. So let's see if we can go franchise play 2014 YouTube draft class. That's what I think we're gonna call it. I know that's long, but hey, sorry. And they may not even let me get that. Let's see. Nope. Alright, so this is what we got to do. I mean, I shouldn't have to say draft class. You know you're looking at draft class, right? So franchise play 2014. From YouTube. That ought to work. Maybe not, but we'll see. There we go. Franchise play 2014 from YouTube. I know it's kind of weird name, but that's what we're going to go for. Bang. It is uploaded and available for everybody to get. So I'll talk about how to get it and all that kind of stuff. There it is. But we'll talk about how to get it and all that in a second. Now let's break down what we got here. And let me just throw in real quick. This is going to be a long video. Let me let y'all know right now, if you didn't pay attention to the time, it's going to be a long video because it's 11 guys I went through here. So sorry. And but I'm going to try to speed it up and make it as fast as possible. Draft class is complete for everybody to look over all the players. Anyway, Mitch McGarry, I did go in and make him left-handed. Sorry I missed that, guys, trying to kind of speed this up. But let's go. Where did we leave off? I think we left off with LaQuinton Ross was the last guy we did. So that means Russ-diculous. Russ Smith is the first guy. Louisville's Russ Smith. This guy is an interesting prospect. You saw the rating I gave him. I don't know. People might think that's a little high or whatever, but if you're a Louisville fan, you probably don't. But of course, I don't rate players based off of fandom or how much I like them or whatever. Russ is a good player, cool player, but I'm just looking over the video and all the times I've watched him play, which has been a lot. I just really, came to this as what I thought was the right rating for him, especially in light of his senior season. Senior season has been impressive. Because he knew he had to try to prove that he could play point guard to a degree. I don't think he's ever going to be a natural point guard. He's a natural scorer, but he has some skills that you can't really deny from a speed standpoint. If you just look at the numbers, though, 47% from the field. For a little guy, that's extraordinary. 38.7% from three-point range. Free throw percentage dropped, though. He went up to 80% last year. Then he dropped to 70.5. I don't understand that. But the assists were big. Assist numbers went all the way up to 4.6. 3.3 rebounds a game for the second year in a row for a 6-foot guy who probably isn't really even a legit 6 foot. And then the 2 steals a game. He is a very tenacious defender. Really good at defending and dodging picks, which is the reason why I gave him pick dodger. But we know about that speed off the dribble, which is the reason why he got the ankle breaker. But he is extremely streaky. He can get hot and can't miss, or he can get cold and he can't shoot a skittle in the ocean. So that's Russ Smith, and then he needs a lot of shots to really get his stuff going. So that was my idea with Russ Smith. But you saw the speed. He is, I believe, I want to say, and I think I very well may have made him the fastest guy in the draft class. Russ Smith is a blur. I mean, he is a absolute blur. I mean, this dude is super fast. Change directions, real shifty in the open court. It's hard to deny him. But if you looked at the potential, I didn't have his potential all that high, which is a big deal if you're looking at for the long term, because that's going to tell you how great he can actually be. But as a guy coming in right now, I think he'll be able to be effective quicker than a lot of other guys. So that was the idea there with him. So we're taking a look at the signature skills, or not the signature skills, the signature moves of Russ Smith. And this is it. Overall, man, working with what I was working with, as a lot of people, and I try not to respond to everybody, because I know some of the people just don't understand the deal with this or whatever, so they don't understand how it went. But try my best, of course, to make everybody look as much like themselves as I could. But if you know what I was working with, which you know, I've said it several times throughout the series, you can't edit players on the draft class. So you have to find a person that matches the face as best as possible. That's why Dante Exum looks Asian. That's the reason why Shabazz Napier looks Asian. I had to go for complexion and, you know, shape of the face or something to try to latch on. So let's go Nik Stauskas. Nik Stauskas, to me, is one of the better shooting guards in the draft. I gave him a 69. He's, to me, I don't see why people would suggest that he is a just like only a spot up shooter. I think he's shown already that he has a little bit more athleticism than people give him credit for. But yes, the best part of his game is the shooting. I mean, he's a ridiculous shooter. 47% from the field, 44% from three-point range, 82% from free throw line. You know, I mean, that is the best part of his game. But what's going to make him, to me, a little more than just a spot-up shooter is because he can put it on the floor and go to the rack and finish a bit. I saw a comparison of him that said Jason Capono. No way. No way. No way he's Jason Capono was a terrible athlete by NBA standards, and he couldn't put the ball on the floor at all. Stauskas can do that, and he can pass. He's better. He's better than Jason Capono ever was right now. So I don't think that's a good comparison. So catch and shoot, dead eye is what I gave him. Let's look at the tendencies here. He's the Big Ten Player of the Year. Got mad heart. He's a leader. Really, I didn't blow his, you know, potential up too high, but it's decent. You know what I mean? And I mean, to be quite honest, I wouldn't mind the Bulls drafting Nik Stauskas. You know, as a guy, especially if they decide to trade Mike Dunleavy Jr. or to dump Mike Dunleavy Jr. in some way to try to be able to get like a Kevin Love or preferably for me, Carmelo Anthony. So that's the deal there with Stauskas. We moving on, looking at the signature moves a little bit here, and let's see. The most important thing, of course, is always the dribble moves, in my opinion, and the dunks package that, you know, that I give them. So I really try to make sure I pay attention to that. Don't want to have anybody doing any kind of dunks that we know they're not going to be doing. So I mean, I said he can finish, but he's still, you know, he's not windmilling on anybody or anything like that. So like, as I mentioned, this one's gonna have 11 guys. This episode's got 11 guys in it. We only got 2 done so far. Jarnell Stokes. Wish we could have gave him the headband, but this is what we got. This dude's strong, man. This dude is like, it's 2 guys in this draft. One of them's the last guy I'm gonna show you, but it's 2 guys in this draft who look like they could play tight end for somebody, and Jarnell Stokes is one of them. And they both in the SEC. That's another hint. 6'8", 266 pounds. He got super long arms too. I think like a 7'1", 7'2" wingspan. Crazy. And down the stretch of the season, he really he was really a really solid player. And then in the tournament, I thought he was one of the most effective low post guys in the tournament. You know, so averaged 15 a game during the season, 10.6 rebounds. Yeah, that's real. Up from 9.6 last year. He even got his free throw percentage up to close to 70%, which is going to definitely help him, because as a big, beefier guy like that, he's going to draw the contact and be able to get to the line. Being able to convert about 70% of those is going to have is going to really say a lot about him moving forward and how he's able to score on the next level. Yeah, we gave him brick wall for sure, and tenacious rebounder. So I thought, he definitely deserved both of those. And as we flip through the tendencies, 2 Tennessee guys in this draft class is Jordan McRae and Jarnell Stokes. So that's pretty interesting. It seems like, I don't know, it just seems like Tennessee they just keep a little stable of excellent athletes. We'll see if they can keep it up, or if they can even hold on to Quanzo Martin as the head coach, because he became kind of a little bit of a hot commodity. You know what? He might have even moved on. I don't think so yet, but I know his name had come up for a couple head coaching jobs. But we'll see if they can keep that going without Bruce Pearl as the recruiter. So we'll see. And then here are the signature skills. I keep saying signature skills. That's not what I mean. Signature moves. Jarnell Stokes. And he's not a great leaper. He's a good enough leaper, but so we didn't go too crazy on the dunks for him either. There we go. All right, who's next? Who is next on the slab? Walter Tavares. Most people have probably not heard of him. He's not from Egypt. Is another country in Africa. I want to say it's. I'm gonna be guessing if I say this. I can't remember. It was Cape Verde, I believe it was, but I might be wrong. So yeah, hey, just hold on that quote. But basically 7'2", 255 pounds, gave him a 66. Now he is very raw, extremely raw, especially on the offensive end. But what he is good at already is he knows how to play tall, and for big guys that's important. Being able to stay vertical and not leave their feet, but still use that huge frame that this guy has. This dude is huge. Able to use their body to stay on their feet and basically be a solid rim protector, and to a certain degree stay out of foul trouble. He still leaves his feet a little bit based off of what we saw on the video, and also based off of some of the scouting reports that were written. But he has that good base for that skill. If you need a comparison to know 2 people in the NBA currently that are good at that, the first one that comes to mind is Roy Hibbert. Really good at staying on his feet and not falling for fakes, just staying tall. Another one is Omer Ashik from the Houston Rockets, another defensive player who's really good at just remaining tall and using that whole verticality thing to obstruct guys who are trying to go to the basket and obstruct their path to the goal. So I think that's the kind of player he could be. But he's so raw in so many ways, it's really hard to say for sure. And I don't think he's ever going to be much of a offensive player. But as a defensive player, I think he could be a force. If you're looking at some of these draft classes, some of these ratings, one of the things that I really would like for people to make sure they pay attention to is pay attention to the potential. Because some of the guys that are considered to be higher picks, based off of the formulas that I use and my whole thought process of adding the ratings, I couldn't substantiate giving those guys really, really high ratings now because of, you know, based off of the statistics and what they've done and shown. But where I really kind of balanced it out is in the potential. So yeah, maybe not in the first year will this guy who's considered to be a big prospect really jump out, but maybe in the second or third year, if he has the, you know, if whatever happens with the whole player maturation logic in MyGM, which, you know, we got to see a little bit how that works. But that was my thought process with some of the players. You'll see that with James Young for Kentucky. You'll see that when I get to him, because there wasn't a lot that would allow me to substantiate giving him like a really killer rating, even though I think he's one of the better top 15, 17 prospects in a draft, but maybe not there quite yet. Xavier Thames, yes, that's like Ray Allen with a headband and somebody else's nose, and he doesn't look anything like Xavier Thames at all. But I ran out of darker skinned black guys with hair, so we had to go with this one. Xavier Thames is a very good all-around player for San Diego State. Pretty good defender, but mostly is a scorer, averaging 18 a game, and really stepped up big in the tournament. Really stepped up big. He surprised a lot of people, I think, with the way he played. And well, maybe he didn't surprise a lot of people. Probably the better or more accurate thing to say is that he stepped up and played, and he opened the eyes of a lot of people who weren't aware of who he was. Because playing for San Diego State, he didn't get a lot of press. You know, a lot of the other guys in the nation were getting most of the love and most of the attention, but he was putting up numbers all season long. And then, of course, you know, with San Diego State not playing in a power conference, you always wonder whether or not, you know, if that's going to hold true once they start to play against the bigger and better teams, which it did to a certain degree. But of course, San Diego State went home before reaching the Final Four, so that's one thing. But he did average 17.5 points a game. Didn't shoot that great from the field, which really hurt the ratings for me. 41% from the field, 37% from three-point range is definitely good, and he's a really good free throw shooter at 83%. But the small shooting, or the modest shooting percentage from the field overall, I couldn't go too much higher. And then when you factor in the fact that a lot of what he did, you know, was not against, you know, #1 type competition, I kind of had to hold him back a little bit. And I didn't give him that great of rating from a potential standpoint, because he's a 6'3" point guard who is a good athlete but not great. So it's hard to say, oh yeah, potential just falling out of the walls there, because it's not really. So still, you know, could be a decent guy in the next year or two in your draft class if you can get that far on the MyGM. That's the thing about doing these draft classes, though, because really, before you can really have any real data to add, the NBA season is almost about over. So, you know, this is kind of for the hardcore NBA 2K fans who play year round, you know, because during the off season you can run together 2 or 3 seasons during the off season if you play it consistently enough, and especially if you don't go a whole 82 games. Say if you do 29 or the one right up from there. So you don't know. Noah Vonleh did that way earlier, so that was that. Chris Walker, yeah, you're looking at those ratings, that's pretty low. Chris Walker is actually, I don't know if he's coming out. He certainly shouldn't, but I shouldn't say that. From a pure basketball standpoint, he shouldn't, because he's not ready. He spent most of the year suspended for something that debatable whether or not he should have even been suspended about. And then when he did come to play for Florida, he was not, you know, I mean, he needed more because he's a raw talent anyway. But you see the statistics, and you might be this. If you've never heard of Chris Walker, you're like, well, why did you even put this guy in this thing? Because he's a phenomenal athlete, and he has a lot of raw potential. But he also has, I believe, some financial issues like his family. So because of his length and size and athleticism combination, there's a chance that a team would take an opportunity to try to get him in the draft, maybe beginning of the second round, maybe even late first round, especially if he goes to some workouts and shows even more potential than what people already think that he thinks that he has. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of it. I mean, there's some disturbing stuff there. Free throw percentage is 28.6%. That's rough. That's rough to deal with. But run jump athlete. One site called him a pogo stick or a jumping jack style big. Athletically, you know, he kind of reminds me of even more athletic Hakeem Warwick, because when Hakeem Warwick was younger, he was a really good athlete, really long, explosive kind of pogo stick kind of a power forward. I see Chris Walker with a similar type of body. Could possibly be even more than that, because I think he actually can. I think he can put the ball on the floor a little bit. But so it was actually, I'll be honest, a little difficult rating him because he hasn't done anything. So I had to really go a lot on like high school video and scouting reports from people about his talent set, because he hasn't really, you know, 18 games, 4.8 minutes a game. You know, it's not a lot of that. Not a lot you can pull from that. But I put him in the draft because the financial thing, I thought that he could come out. Even if he goes in, even if he just goes in just to test the waters, I think it's a chance that he could, you know, he may do something there. So we'll see what happens, but he can definitely jump, so we hooked him up a little bit with the dunks. So we are moving through almost down here to the bottom. TJ Warren, one of the most interesting rating processes that I have for any of the players, and this is why. TJ Warren is not a great athlete at all. Okay, not a great athlete at all. Doesn't have a lot of explosion. He's a little bit. I would say he's faster than Doug McDermott, but definitely not in. He doesn't have elite speed. But he averaged 25 points a game. 25 points a game, and plays for NC State. I mean, we're talking ACC, you know what I mean? So you have to respect that, because it's what the conference is in and the number, right? But at the same token, I couldn't go too crazy, because the video is saying, hey, this guy, is he going to be able to beat people off the dribble in the NBA? Because he's playing small forward, power forward, but he plays that intermediate area of the floor. He shoots the three a little bit, but you can see he didn't shoot it too well. 26.7% of the makes of those shots he made. It's also just an okay free throw shooter. But this guy's weird. He has a knack for rebounding, 7.1 a game, and he moves so well without the ball. Like he is able to find areas on the floor to get buckets. And I read a statistic for him about his use of the floater and the runner. He shot more floaters and more runners in the lane. Now, this is a guy who could probably play power forward, but he's a small forward mostly. But he shot more runners and floaters in the lane than any other player in the nation, right? But he also made the highest percentage of the shots in the nation. So it's like, man, how do you really account for that type of a statistic? Because a floater and a runner is the type of shot that either a small guy who's trying to make up for a huge height disadvantage is going to take, or it's the type of shot that a guy who is not an explosive athlete like Warren isn't, and they use that as like an in-between kind of move so they can get the shot off. So he's seemingly mastered that type of shot. So it's difficult to say he won't be able to score in the NBA. Now, I didn't give him a high potential rating because, like I said, that potential rating to me is based primarily on athleticism, because that's what tells you what your ceiling is. Guys can, their skills levels can get better, and yes, a guy can become a better shooter and that sort of thing, but what caps a guy's potential is his athleticism. So if you got a guy who's not a great athlete, his potential is never going to be as high as a guy who's is. And to me, TJ Warren does not have that type of athleticism to have a high potential rating. But if you looked at the 73 I gave him, obviously he can come in and be one of the better impact rookies in the draft class. Andrew Wiggins, of course, I took care of that already, did that. CJ Wilcox, I like his game. Like his game a lot. For some reason, the guys from Washington, I'm digging their games. The Tony Roden Jr.'s, Terrence Ross, now him, and even going back even further, Nate Robinson. I'm liking these guys from Washington, the backcourt guys. They are really athletic, kind of just kind of bouncy, all around kind of guys. He's a 5th-year senior, and that doesn't look anything like him. So if you don't know what he looks like, he don't look like that. But 18.3 a game, 45% from the field, 39% three-point shooter, 87% free throw shooter. He can shoot the jump shot off the dribble. He can shoot it off screens. He's a good catch and shoot shooter, three-point shooter. And he's like a weird athlete. And the reason why I say that is you'll see some stuff of him and he's flying through the air, boom, slamming down alley-oops and that sort of thing, transition slams. But what I've noticed with him is that he's the type of dude who needs a couple steps to get, to get his momentum up so that he can rise and finish in that way. If you're just talking about off the dribble and beating guys with speed and moves off the dribble, that's where he falls a little short. And that's what keeps him from being like a freakish athlete. Because if you see some of the slams, he's throwing them down with right hand, he's throwing them down with his left hand, he's throwing them down all kinds of ways. And sometimes you can look at that and say, oh man, this guy, he's a great athlete. He's fast, jump high. No, the fast is not so much, at least not with the ball. So it takes a certain level of skill and coordination to be fast with the ball and fast without it. And I don't think he has that big time speed without the ball. I mean, with the ball, I should say. And so that kept down the potential rating and the speed rating for me. But the three-point shooting and the overall shooting period, yeah, he's got it. He's got it. He would be a good pick in the beginning of the 2nd round probably. One thing I'm interested to see, like I was talking about with the draft logic, I remember on 2K, might have even been 2K14 on Xbox 360, but I remember on 2K13 for sure, it was like the computer would draft guys that was like, that guy, I made the draft class, I know that guy's not one of the highest rated guys. And to a degree, I kind of was like, what are they doing? But on another hand, I kind of liked it because the computer isn't supposed to know what the ratings are, right? So if they just drafted all of the guys with the higher ratings, then that would kind of messes with the whole way that the draft is supposed to be. It's supposed to be you don't know, right? So I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence with that. Chaz Williams, little dynamo from UMass, he's probably not going to get drafted. So I got to a point where I had to start including some guys who probably weren't going to get drafted. And Chaz Williams was one of the guys that I picked. The funny thing is when I did my 2K13 draft class, I think I put him in that one too because I thought he might come out because UMass had a really strong run in the NIT last year, and they flopped miserably this year in the NCAA tournament, losing in the 1st round. I think they lost to Tennessee, as a matter of fact. But Chaz is also a 5th-year senior, began his collegiate career at Hofstra. This past year, 15.6 a game. The field goal percentage isn't great, but he's a little guy, so it's kind of understandable. 36% from three-point range is acceptable for sure. 75.4 free throw percentage, and they look at those assists, almost 7 a game after averaging 7.3. So he can play. He can play. Of course, the thing you always worry about with a guy like him, though, is that size. I mean, he's a little dude. But one thing about him is he is feisty. And you know what I didn't give him that I should have given him, and I'm going to give it to him right now, is fierce competitor. He is definitely that. If you watch Chaz play, that dude is a fierce competitor. He's like almost what that signature, what is that called? Personality badge was made for. I mean, this dude, he brings it hard with the competitiveness. So a lot of the little smaller guys you'll see are like that. You know, they've been called too small all the time they play basketball. People have, you know, tried to punk them more or less, and they had to get tough and fierce and competitive if they're gonna stay out there. And he carries that type of a personality the way he plays. I don't know about, I mean, I gave him a 68. I mean, the numbers kind of supported doing that. And then, of course, he's fast. He's super fast, and he's also built, he's muscular. So he's able to go in and take some contact more than a lot of smaller guys would do. Less athletic Nate Robinson doesn't shoot as well as Nate Robinson either, but he's muscular and smaller in stature like Nate. So that kind of makes me do that slight, ever so slight loose comparison. I think I jumped a little bit too far past these tendencies a little bit. If you want to know why I go through all of these things like this, it gives me a chance, of course, to explain why I did what I did. But earlier on in the process, there was a guy, and I lost the comment, so I couldn't find out who it really was. Or I couldn't name him. I couldn't name exactly who it was. But there's a guy who said that he was putting the same draft class together and just using the ratings for Xbox One, because of course I'm doing this on PlayStation 4. And I thought that was real cool. You know, it's a lot of work. I can definitely tell you that, because I started this project. On January 1st. My son came to me. He was like, "Dad, you still doing a draft class?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "You started this last year." And I was like, "Nah, no, I didn't." Man, I look back at the date of the first draft class video. It was January 1st. So I'm like, wow, you almost right. But we're almost at the end. This is the next to last player, and it's James Young. I talked about him a little bit earlier. Kentucky small forward. And if anybody follows me on Twitter, which I hope you do, at BMAZIQUEFPBR, you saw I tweeted today during the national championship game. Man, James Young threw down a slam that was filthy. I'm talking about filthy, in need of a bath, in need of a cleansing, nasty slam. All in the, I think it was in Bremer's face for UConn. It was filthy. So I was like, man, look, I gotta hook my boy up with a signature skill. I mean, obviously I've seen him been a good athlete all season long, but that was on something new. But looking at his stats, 14.3 a game, 40.7 field goal percentage. That's not so good. He's weird as a shooter. He'll pull up on some shots and they knock down big threes. He did it in the tournament. Big threes. 35% three-point shooter. Almost 71% from the free throw line. But then he'll pull up sometimes and he looks like he has no clue as a shooter. One of the examples was today in the national championship. Pulled up about 15 feet from the elbow, shot an air ball, just bricked it. Bad. 4.3 rebounds, but like I said, that signature skill had to come. Posterizer for what he did tonight. Yeah, you earned that one, JY. Looking at these tendencies, man, I'm getting all excited because I'm almost at the end, about to talk about the last prospect. And if anybody, with all due respect, y'all, with all due respect, I'm not trying to shut nobody down, but you just heard it's taken me a little over 4 months to finish this project. I've been on and off with it, but for the most part, I've been fairly consistent with it. But it took me 4 months. This draft class is as it is. I'm not making any edits at all, so I'm hoping the people that I decided to include stay in the draft or whatever. If not, man, I'm sorry. I did the best I could. The only way to, I would have had to wait until like I think I might have done that last year though. Waited until like the final day before guys have to announce. But I wanted to give people as much time as possible to actually use the draft class in 2K14, you know, and be able to get something out of that. So, yeah, so that was the reason why I kind of wanted to work on it a little bit earlier to get it out of the way. So, hopefully, 2K will follow MLB The Show's lead and hook us up with some, you know, saves that carry over from year to year. That would be extra dope. So, we'll see. But we are moving into the last guy. I feel like I should have a drum roll, somebody clapping, a fat piece person singing, or something should be happening, but it's not. Last guy, Patrick Young. Somebody asked me today, was he going to be in the draft class? He is. He's the last guy. He's Mr. Relevant. So I know the last pick in the NFL draft is Mr. Irrelevant. Well, in my draft class, this is Mr. Relevant. Patrick Young. Now, when I picked his face, I really didn't realize that this dude had a mohawk, so that wouldn't have been what I did. I was trying to get a dark-skinned black dude with a beard, and that's the way it turned out. But the way his face was pointing, you could not tell he had a mohawk. If you have seen Patrick Young, you know he has to be the other dude I was talking about who looks like they should be playing tight end in the NFL. Patrick Young is a beast, big, muscular, strong, I'll knock you down if you have a sandwich that looks like I want to eat kind of dude. Just huge, right? And so I tried to make the statistics reflect, or the ratings reflect that with him. But looking at his stats, I mean, they were decent, 11 points a game, but you know, 6.2 rebounds, a block a game, shooting 54% from the field, right? But free throw shooting is bad, even though it's a little bit up from what it was as a junior, but still bad. The thing about Patrick Young, though, is you have to watch him play. You can't just look at the stats. You got to watch him play. Defensively, he's one of the best low post defenders in college basketball, if he's not the best. He has ridiculous arm lengths, like 7'1" wingspan. He's strong as an ox. I think the strength rating that I gave him was the highest of anybody in the draft class. This dude, you're not moving him. You're not moving him down there on the block, and his arms are long enough to be a force in that way. Gave him brick wall for when he sets a pick. You don't want to run into dude. And Bruiser, the thing about Bruiser is the definition of it is that he drains guys' energy if you have to guard this guy for the whole game. That's the type of player Patrick Young is. Also gave him defensive anchor, because as good as Florida's defense was all year, in my opinion, Patrick Young's presence in the lane was the biggest part of their defense. He's a good shot blocker, not great, but he takes up space. He's smart on his rotations. He can guard a guy on a low block without getting help defense, and he is going to close out on anybody that's penetrating. And his defense is huge. So I hooked it up there, and his defensive ratings is kind of what pushed him up to a 70. So if you paid really attention to the offensive ratings, you saw there wasn't anything to write home about Patrick Young offensively, which I think is legit and on par with the type of player he is. If Patrick Young makes it in the NBA, which I think he will, be a role player, power forward, maybe a starter if the team has a really good scoring center. But when he makes it in the NBA, it's going to be on the strength of his defense and his rebounding. Whatever he does or adds offensively, like if he was able to get, you know, a left-handed hook that he can really depend on, or if he was able to get like a mid-range jump shot, hey, then that's just going to be icing on the cake for him, or, you know, or anything he gets, like I said, is going to be a bonus offensively, because his whole thing is going to be about rebounding and defense. So we are coming down to the signature slams for Patrick Young, and that means that's it. It's done. It's over. Finito is popped. Woo! Man, that was long. That took a long time. It really did. Just to look at a few things, lowest rated player in the draft class is Brady Haslip. Chris Walker's there. Mohamedou Jatai, Sean Kilpatrick, Alessandro Gentile, I think somebody corrected me there. DeAndre Daniels, who didn't play good in the national championship, but they still won. So you see, these are the lower guys. Let's move all the way up to the top and see who is the #1 rated guy. It is Jabari Parker, but his potential is not the highest. Andrew Wiggins is. Wiggins, Kyle Anderson, Marcus Smart, Tyler Ennis, Joel Embiid. This is it. This is what I came up with. Hey, Roy Devin Marble's up there. Gave him a lot of love. Alfred Payton, Shabazz. This is it. So we got, well, how many guys in the 70s? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 20 guys rated at least 70. That's a lot. That's a lot. That's almost everybody, almost every team in the first round can get a rookie with 70s. That's actually probably high, much higher than what 2K rates, guys. I don't know. We'll see. But that's it, man. That is it. I appreciate everybody who stuck it out, stayed with me. 40, this is a 40-minute video. Man, that's nuts. Hey, if people didn't want to stick with me for the whole video, I gave the information out at the beginning. Or if you skipped through, I gave it out. So appreciate, like I said, everybody sticking with me through this process. Man, it was long. I wanted to quit a few times, but went ahead and pushed out and got it done. It's up there for everybody to download. I'm gonna do another video that shows the process of how to download it, and then a little mock draft kind of a thing. So y'all stay tuned for that. I don't know when that's gonna drop. I'm gonna try to do it tonight or this morning, but you know, y'all subscribe.